In chess, very often the winner of the game is the one who sees more than their opponent does. And that's certainly true in this game, Game 7 of Chernev's logical chess move by move. We've got some key mistakes by black, exactly how white takes advantage of them, and a brilliant sacrifice in the middle game. So stay tuned. Let's start the game. It starts with e4, e6, the French defense. And the idea of e6 is to support d5, which is what black does here. We get knight to c3, this is one of the main moves, knight to f6, and white decides to capture here on d5. This is known as the delayed exchange variation, and interestingly, even though this immediately equalizes for black, a lot of players who play the French defense with the black pieces don't enjoy this structure. It's very symmetrical, both sides have traded off their e-pawns, and it's quite drawish. So it is one way to annoy a French defense player, making this capture on d5. Although for white it's objectively not the best. Much better is to try and play for an advantage with either e5, after which the knight has to go to a bit of an awkward square. Black's going to try and play for c5 at some point. The other thing that white can do is play bishop to g5, and from here black will usually trade on e4, and you get this pressure against f6. Black will probably just play bishop to e7, and the game continues from there. But at least the structure is a bit unbalanced. It's not symmetrical. Black's got an e-pawn, white's got a d-pawn. But however, let's get back to the game, because after the trades on d5, we get bishop to g5, makes a lot of sense, pinning the knight, and bishop to e7 from black. By the way, if you're enjoying the video so far, please do me a quick favor and drop a like down below. It'll help this video to reach a greater audience. So then white plays bishop to d3. This is often the best square for white's light squared bishop. It points at a good diagonal. If black ever castles, then this will be a great square for the bishop to potentially help launch an attack from. We get knight to c6 from black. That attacks the d4 pawn, and white's got to do something about that. And white plays knight to e2. Maybe not the most natural move, as the author points out. Perhaps more natural is knight to f3, but then you've got to worry about bishop to g4, which pins that knight and renews the threat of knight takes d4. White probably has to go bishop to e2 here, which allows the queen to defend d4 against the knight's pressure. So white didn't want to go back with the bishop, so instead knight g to e2 was preferred. So that defends the pawn without really having to worry about bishop to g4. If black plays that now, then simply f3. So what happened next was knight to b4, which in the book Irving Chernev was rather critical of. He wasn't too sure about this. He's saying, well, the knight is attacking the light squared bishop, but it's moving a lot of times. So he didn't think this was a great idea, but actually it's one of the best moves. We have modern computers now which can show this. This light squared bishop is white's star minor piece, so it does make sense to try and eliminate it if you can. We got knight to g3, and black did indeed take this bishop. White recaptured with the queen, and now we get the move g6. This move is understandable from black. Black wants to prevent knight to f5, but this is a move which didn't really need to be prevented. I mean, let's just say that black were to castle instead. If white did play knight to f5, then, well, black could just take this, and black is absolutely fine in the resulting position. Take a look at the engine evaluation and you can see it's actually slightly favourable to black. Black's already castled their king. This pressure here is nothing to speak of. Black can play rook to e8, which probably provokes white into castling, and the game continues. But certainly black has no problems here. But after g6, what we're going to see is that black becomes quite weak on these dark squares. Every pawn move creates a weakness, as the author points out. And the problem with playing the pawn to g6 is that because the pawn is no longer on g7, this knight on f6 has one fewer defender. By the way, this video is part of a series I'm doing on logical chess move by move. Eventually I plan to cover every game in the book, so to make sure you don't miss out on any of the future videos that I've got coming up, go ahead and click the subscribe button. So let's see how it continues. White castles, quite understandably, and now black plays c6. This is often a move that black wants to play, just reinforcing the pawn on d5. But black is being a bit slow here. Really, black needs to do something about this dark squared bishop's pressure. We're going to see why soon. What black should have done at this point was instead play h6. Now the bishop has to move away. The bishop has to move away from this diagonal. Note that the bishop can't go back to h4 because that would simply drop the bishop. The bishop doesn't have a square anymore. So probably the bishop would have to go back to f4. Still not that great for black though, because, well, black can't castle because that would just hang the pawn on h6. So c6 was a bit slow. You had to do something about this pressure. And what white did is he tried to ramp up the pressure along the e file. Now the threat here is to take the knight. If it was white's turn again, then bishop takes knight and black's dark squared bishop can't take back due to this pin along the e file. So rook after e1 provoked black into castling, but now we see the star move of the game. Now I want you to think here, think carefully. This is not an easy move to see, but just think about everything I've mentioned up to this point. Black has weakened themselves on the dark squares. White has a dark squared bishop, which is adding pressure along here. So what is one way that you can increase the pressure on the dark squares even further? Well, it's with the amazing exchange sacrifice, rook takes e7, eliminating black's dark squared bishop, and therefore making black even weaker on those dark squares. In order to believe in this exchange sacrifice, you need to see all the next few follow-up moves from white. Now, by the way, if you want to play amazing exchange sacrifices like this, which can help you win in glorious attacking fashion, then I'd like to let you know I help ambitious adult improvers reach their goals in chess. So if you'd like to explore working together, click the link in the description below. It's in the pinned comment or at the top of the description, and we can see if working together will be a good fit. So as we go back to the game, black has to take back, of course, otherwise black is just down a piece. And now the follow-up is just as important here. There's only one follow-up for white, and that follow-up is queen to f3. So this ramps up the pressure on f6. The knight obviously can't move. If the knight did move, then black would lose their queen. In the game, black played king to g7, just defending the knight on f6 directly. But another interesting defensive try here is bishop to f5. I think this is an easy move to overlook, all the way back when white decided to make the exchange sacrifice, right? You might have played this rook takes e7 with a flourish, thinking that king to g7 was going to be forced, only to be surprised by bishop to f5. A move that many people wouldn't have seen coming, but Rudolf Spielmann, the player with the white pieces, was a legendary attacking player, and in this case he had in mind knight takes f5. Now it might seem as though the white queen's attack on f6 is still blocked, but now white can actually switch gears and go over to g3 with a devastating threat of discovered attack against the black king. If you try and attack the white queen now, well, actually the queen trade is fine, because at the end white's got two minor pieces for the black rook, and that material imbalance favors white. So really the only way to defend the knight is with king to g7, and it seems as though black is okay here. I mean, maybe not comfortable, but the knight is defended, and if you give black a couple more moves, then maybe black can play something like queen to, I mean, let's just give black a couple of moves here, queen to e6, and eventually this knight will be able to move away and black should be okay. You can see the engine evaluation bar has swung in black's favour there. So white needs to be urgent about how to take advantage of this weakness on the dark squares. And the follow-up is amazing as well. The follow-up is knight c to e4. So the knight still can't take because of the same problem. It would drop the queen. And if you take the knight, then white has another knight to take back with. And now we've got 3 attackers on f6 and only 2 defenders. So what is black supposed to do to solve all their problems on the dark squares? Well, we've established you can't take the knight because you lose the queen. You also can't take the knight with the queen because, well, simplest is to capture the piece which was defending the black queen with check, and once the king moves, then you pick up the black queen and white is just up an overwhelming amount of material. Then again, maybe it isn't really quite so bad for black. I mean, if you count the material, white is actually down an entire rook here. There's 2 minor pieces for both sides, whereas black has 2 rooks and white just has 1. So the move that black played here might be able to save things for black. You play queen to e6 and okay, you're going to lose the knight, but maybe you're still alright. You're still up material actually. You're up the exchange if you've got the black pieces here. So the king has to move away, of course, but even though white is down material, white is winning after queen to f4. So the threat that comes with queen to f4 is to invade on these dark squares. There's not really any way to stop queen to h6 followed by queen to g7 checkmate other than to give up the queen. Black could give up the queen, but that is tantamount to resigning, so black just did resign instead, and that was the end of the game. I'm going to summarize the key lessons here, but before I do, just a reminder that if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I've got lots of great content on chess coming up, including more videos from Chernev's Logical Chess Move by Move. So then what can we learn from this game? Well, I think if we go all the way back to the start, near the start anyway, black was actually able to win that important light squared bishop from white. And if we just take a look, black has got a small advantage after this, even though the knight had to move 3 times in order to capture it. That light squared bishop is a powerful piece for white, and if you can, you want to keep it on the board. As we moved further into the game, the real mistake that black made was this move g6. There was no need to play this. Black could have just instead castled, and okay, the reason that g6 was played is that black didn't want to allow knight to f5, but this was a threat that could have been allowed. Sometimes when you see a threat, you can allow the threat. You don't have to prevent every threat. And in this case, black already had a good way of responding to the threat, because if knight to f5 was played, then black could simply take it and be absolutely okay. From there, black was just a bit slow, ended up castling into danger, but even then, white had to find a pretty amazing sequence in order to prove the problem with black's play. I think the way to see this is by thinking about black's weakness. The weakness is on the dark squares. How can we ramp up the pressure on the dark squares? Well, it's by capturing black's dark squared bishop. And then the follow-up as well. I mean, it had to take some pretty precise calculation to see all of this, but that's what chess is all about, isn't it? Sometimes the winning moves are not that easy to find, and through studying games like this one, we can learn to find such moves in our own game. Go ahead and click the next video in the series. I'm covering all of Chernev's games from Logical Chess Move by Move, so click right here on the video to go to the next game.